welcome to another edition of the Stogie Video Review. I am Walt White, and this week, or today, I have something a little bit different. Something that I don't normally like to do, but I'm going to do it anyway since we make up our own rules at Stogie Review. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a first impressions video of a cigar that I recently got at IPCPR. Generally, when we do these reviews, we like to go anywhere between 3 and 5 cigars by the time we do the review. In most cases, it's usually cigar 5 when we do the review, so that we get an idea of just how consistent the line is. Is there variation from cigar to cigar? If we have several samples, we can feel pretty confident in whatever review we give. In this case, I'm doing a single cigar that I got, as I mentioned, I got in New Orleans at IPCPR, and I thought I'd check it out. Brian mentioned on Twitter he smoked his sample and he thought it was pretty good. So I figure with Brian's little Twitter mentions and my sample, maybe we can get some kind of concise opinion. But again, since this is a first impression video, you have to rule out most of what I say simply because we don't know whether it's going to be consistent or not. I could have the exceptional cigar, or I could have the dud. So again, please keep that in mind as you go through the review and whatnot. And because it's only one sample, I'm not going to do the traditional review with the big long write-up and things like that. It's going to be more streamlined, a little simpler, and more like an organized series of notes for a future review. If we do a future review or whatnot. But the cigar is the La Caridad del Cobre 1608, which comes out of the Cuban Crafters factory in Miami, Florida. Manuel Medina makes these cigars, and I got my sample from Frank from cigarlaw.com. It's his line of cigars. We bumped into him at the trade show, and real nice guy, gave us some samples, so gonna give it a try. I couldn't find a whole lot of information on the website, the La Caridad del Cobre website, so I contacted Frank on Facebook and just asked him some general questions, the makeup of the cigar and whatnot. And what I got back was the wrapper is an Ecuadorian sun-grown Sumatra. Binder and filler are from Nicaragua, Stogie, Nicaragua, and I'm told it's Ligero, although for Brian's opinion of being mild, I'm kind of surprised to see Ligero mentioned in there, especially as a combination between binder and filler. So we'll just have to smoke it and see. In any case, Ecuadorian sun-grown Sumatra wrapper, Nicaraguan binder and filler. They come in 3 sizes, 25 cigars per box. We've got Toros, Torpedos, and Robustos. And Frank says that there's a Maduro going to be coming out in about 2 months from another well-known company. MSRP per box of 25, 185 for Toros and Robustos, 200 for Torpedos. And hopping back over to the website, La Caridad del Cobre is the Cuban patron saint, and I thought that story was pretty interesting when Frank told it in New Orleans. And the 1608 comes in because that's when this myth or this story originated around that time. And with Cuba going through so many changes over the years, this is one of the few things that has stayed consistent throughout the country's history. So with that said, let's get into the cigar. First thing I noticed about this is it's got a very dull color to it. There's not much, or I should say dull sheen. There's not much shine. You don't see a lot of what would appear to be oil. It appears to be fairly dry. Medium-sized veins here and there. They protrude a little bit. It doesn't have much of a lumpy texture to it, even with those protruding veins. Construction looks pretty good. Looking over that seam in the cigar, it looks nice and straight. No tears or anything pulled away. Looks very clean. The cap's a little sloppy. It's got a couple of spots that are lifting, but it's not bad at all. Very mild aroma. So let's get this thing lit. It's got a firm feel to it. It feels dense, evenly packed with tobacco. So let's go ahead and get this thing lit. Now, if you're in the area, actually I don't know when this is going to be published, but there's an event for La Caridad del Cobre in Miami, Florida at the Cuban Crafters factory or shop on, as I said, the 11th of September. I think I said the 11th of September. Yeah. So if you're in the Miami area and you know, the first impressions review sounds interesting, head down and check it out if you're, if you're nearby. Very mild to start. Got a bit of a buttery texture to it. But anyway, my cigar's lit, it's burning well, so I'm gonna take a quick break. I'm actually doing something else different. Normally, first cigar is always water. It's Sunday morning, so I'm doing coffee. So sit tight, I'll be right back with the first third of the La Caridad del Cobre, and we'll see how it goes. Alright, well, welcome back. I'm plugging along on the first third of my La Caridad del Cobre, and so far it is doing very well in the burning characteristics department. Nice thin burn line, just a little wavy. The ash was beautiful, really tightly compacted, light in color, it looked really good. It got to about a ½ inch, and then I'm thinking, wow, this ash looks great. You know, the burning characteristics of this cigar are fantastic. It's going very, very well. I put the cigar on my lips, take a puff, the ash falls off and goes all over my shirt. So after that, the ash starts developing again. This little bit of waviness in the burn line that you see, as soon as the ash starts forming, that straightens up quite nicely. But it seems as though whenever the ash gets, about a ½ inch, 3/4 of an inch, it doesn't take much, a slight movement and it'll fall off. It's not necessarily a bad thing. It's not a good thing either, but this probably isn't a cigar that I'd smoke in the car. Mostly afraid that it'd get all over the place if I didn't really keep an eye on it. If you're near an ashtray, cigar spends a lot of time in an ashtray. You're conscious of what's going on. You shouldn't have much problem at all with the ash. It's not flaky. There aren't little pieces that come off. It's just the whole ash comes off in one solid chunk. In terms of smoke volume, it's a little airy for me. The draw is a little stiff for my liking, but it provides a good volume of smoke. It's not quite as dense as I would like it. Finish is pretty smooth. There's a little bit of a dryness going on in the back of my throat, and I'm getting that when I retrohale. When I retrohale, I'm getting a little bit of a spicy component, but it's somehow very different from the I don't know, the typical spiciness I get out of a cigar, especially when it's retrohale. Somehow an ant got in my house. At any rate, spiciness through the sinuses it's got just a unique aroma to it, and it's quite nice. The flavor is very mild. it's very mild, sort of buttery, smooth, and I'm having difficulty picking out one particular flavor. It just tastes like just a mild natural tobacco flavor. So I'm gonna smoke a little. Excuse me. I'm gonna smoke a little bit more of my La Caridad del Cobre. I'll come back, take a look at the second, third, and as it burns along, we'll see if anything transitions, if the flavor becomes more apparent, easier to pick out, and you know, and all the happy things that go along with smoking cigars. So sit tight. I'll be right back. Alright, well, welcome back. It is about time to take a look at the second third of my La Caridad del Cobre. And as you can see, as the ash begins to form, or as it begins to develop on the end of the cigar, the burn line straightens up considerably, and it even thins out just a little bit more than it was earlier. The ash won't get much longer than this before it finally falls off, and it really won't take much to make that happen. Cigar is getting a touch warm, and the reason being, I'm assuming, is because the draw is a little stiffer than I prefer. So I'm pulling on it a little harder, and in turn it warms up the cigar. I'm not getting any harshness just yet, but I can see it as something that will definitely come about if I keep puffing on the cigar as hard and as frequently as I am, you know, to get the smoke volume I'm looking for. It's still a little airy, but it's really not bad. The smoke volume is decent. It's flavorful. It's just a little on the airy side, and I'm not quite sure how I would describe that. It just doesn't seem dense. As far as the body goes, mild to medium, and I don't know, medium is probably a little bit of a stretch. It's very mild. The finish is smooth, easy on the palate. It's easy to smoke. You know, there's no aggressive qualities to the cigar. Through the sinuses, I'm getting still that very unique spiciness, and I'm finding that to be the most interesting thing about the cigar so far. In terms of flavor, I'm still getting a very, just a natural, straight-up tobacco flavor. Nothing really jumping out at me, you know, designating it as one specific flavor or another. It's just, I don't want to say a generic tobacco flavor, but that's almost what my mind is telling me. It's more of a sort of a generic flavor. The interesting thing comes from the, you know, that unique spiciness through the sinuses. That's what gives the cigar a unique quality and makes it interesting. I mean, you know, I'm just running through my mental notes, just thinking about what else I could add about the cigar, but there really isn't anything of interest to go on and on about. So that's going to be a very quick second, third video clip. So sit tight, I'll be back. We'll do a final third and then wrap up the cigar, give you my overall impression and whatnot, and I'll let you be on your way. So I'll be back in just a sec. Alright, well, it's time to wrap up my La Caridad del Cobre, and it's doing pretty good. Still having a little bit of an issue with the ash being so weak. You know, I am paying attention to it and ashing it frequently, but every now and again it slips my mind and ends up falling off the cigar. The draw is still a little stiff. As a result, I have to pull a little harder, and the cigar's getting a little warmer. Along with the warmth of the cigar, I'm getting a little bit of a harshness. If I back off the cigar a little bit, the harshness fades, but in turn I have to touch it up every now and again. It doesn't take a lot of touching up to keep the cigar burning properly, but it's, I don't know, it's like a balancing act. It's either touch up the cigar and smoke slower, or continue to smoke as normal and deal with some harshness. So I guess it's a fair trade-off. The smoke still steams a little airy. The finish still gets me in the back of the throat with a little bit of a dryness. The spice, the unique spiciness I was getting through the sinuses has transitioned into more of an aggressive spice. It's not nearly as enjoyable. The aromas coming off the cigar aren't nearly as nice. The body has picked up a little bit too. It's more medium at this point. The finish is a little bit longer. The cigar seems to be going out with a bang, although I preferred the milder part of the cigar much more. I mean, it was really mild in the beginning. The second third was probably my favorite part of the cigar. This last third is ramping up a little too much, and it's just not my speed. I'm not quite liking everything that I'm getting out of it at this point. I don't know, it almost seems as though the step from where it was to the final third, it was just too much, and you know, a little harshness. I'm also getting a little bit of a bready flavor, which seems kind of out of place. It's still primarily this generic tobacco-like flavor, but I'm getting just a bit of almost like a bready aftertaste, which just doesn't seem to belong. As far as, you know, what did I think of it? You know, it was decent. I could definitely smoke more of these in the morning. I don't think I'd venture into something like this in the afternoon. I think it would just simply be too mild until it hit the last third. And then by that time, I'm not really into what the cigars produce or, you know, providing me with. So, too mild for later in the evening or in the afternoon, I think. Very mild in the morning as well. But it's, I don't know, it makes a nice morning cigar with coffee and whatnot. It's just the last third that I'm not really into. I didn't calculate out what the price is on these per single. I guess I could do that real quick. $185 divided by 25 cigars, $7.40 per single. I don't know that I would pay that much for these. It's a little outside of my comfort zone, and it's a justifiable price. There is a middleman here, being Frank, and not in a derogatory sense, but typically you have a manufacturer that sells product direct to retailers. In this case, you've got a manufacturer selling product to a brand owner who then turns it over to retailers. So there's an extra step in there. Someone needs to make profit. As a result, some of these boutique cigars become more expensive and less attainable for someone such as myself that just doesn't want to spend this kind of money for this kind of cigar. You know, because it's, you know, there's a brand owner involved. I think if these were sold, I don't know, for $5 range, I could definitely see myself smoking these more frequently. But it's at about $7.50. It's just, I don't know, it's a little outside my comfort zone, and I just couldn't see myself picking these up even for a morning cigar. But that's just me. You know, I'm sure there are other people that think $7.40 is a deal, and they would definitely smoke something like this. Maybe more to their liking. Personally, I like something that's a little fuller, even in the morning, and I like some varied flavors in there. You know, the really unique aromas that were coming off the cigar through the retrohaling, you know, getting the smoke through my sinuses were very interesting, and I like that. It was probably my favorite part of the cigar, or I don't know, my favorite portion of the cigar, aside from, or you know, the second third as a whole. Or I guess it's best. My favorite element of the cigar was the aromas that I got from retrohaling the smoke. But in any case, personally, I think it's a little expensive for my taste. I certainly wouldn't turn them down if they were handed to me, especially as a morning cigar. I think it's nice and easygoing in the morning, but again, not really into the final third. So that concludes my first impression look at the La Caridad del Cobre, and until next time, happy smoking.